That's what.
Okay. Thank you. All right, very good. I'm Dave Munger. I'm the Executive Director of the Council of Neighbors and Organizations. It's nice to have you here. There are a couple people I want to introduce before I introduce our guest speaker. So let's see. This guy in the jean jacket is Dale Neesmith, who's one of our board members. The guy in the plaid shirt handing out material is Bruce Hutchison, who's our secretary for our board and member of the board. Grant Smith is standing up in the back with his name tag on. He's another member of our board. And I missed another member of the board. I think I'm okay. So then we have, unfortunately, today our assistant director Sarah Poe is ill. I'm hoping she gets back soon because my half-life is not real long without her. So executive director. Josh Gates is back there. Josh is helping us with fundraising. We're glad to have him. And Alex Klein is back here, and Alex is our intern and from the School for the Deaf and Blind, and he does a great job for us with IT. We have another commissioner here today, Stan Vanderwerf. He's not sworn in, but he has been elected, so I'm going to ask him to you can stand.
Good morning, everybody.
And then I'd like to introduce my wife, who's back there with Josh. And I talked her into coming. I didn't actually talk her into. She wanted to come. So anyway, we're glad to have you all here. Sallie, are you okay?
Uh-huh.
All right, so I'll introduce.
As far as I know. I know.
This is the busiest person in the city, I swear. And we're very glad to have Sallie Clark here. She, by the way, I haven't said this to everyone, she is an alum of Kono. She was on the board, I think, as a vice president when Jan Doran was our president. And we like to think we got her off on her start in public life. So I don't know if that's
neighborhood troublemaker.
Yes, you and me both. Anyway, Sallie Clark is the commissioner for District 3 and the chair of the Board of County Commissioners, the 5 county commissioners. We're delighted to have you here. Is there anything I can get you before you start?
I'm good, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Dave. I'm going to make this chair, so I'm not going to sit down. Because I'll be sitting all day at a county commissioner meeting, I can guarantee that. I passed out two flyers. One, which is just kind of an overview of really why counties matter to you. County government is sort of a mystery to most individuals. And then this flyer, which basically was my presidential initiative under National Association of Counties, for which now I am immediate past president. I served for a year from July to July of this year, and then stepped aside, and we have a new commissioner from Florida who stepped in now as president this year. But I'm still doing a lot of duties. I've visited 45 states around the country. I've attended, I don't know how many meetings over the course of the last 4 years, for 3.5 years as an officer of NACO. You're elected as second, and then you move up into first, and then you move up into president, and then you move into immediate past president, or as some have said, immediate past has been. So it's been an interesting ride. I've been, as some of you know, my background, as Dave mentioned, was Safety and Fire Station 3, which is still open today, over on the city's historic west side. I own a bed and breakfast inn, been doing that for over 30 years. I think my husband and I are the oldest, not necessarily in age, but in longevity of running our own bed and breakfast inn in the state of Colorado. And I recently, we started the Bed and Breakfast Association in 1987, and recently got reelected, now back to president again. So what can you say? When you're busy, people want you to do things and step in. What I want to talk about is why El Paso County government matters to you. I want to tell you a little bit about how we function different from city. We are similar in nature, but we are different too. And as president, I had the ability to have my own initiative which I was kind of born on public safety and felt that safe and secure meant a lot of different things to people. Everything from job security. We are very engaged in the Pikes Peak Workforce Center and economic development issues, in addition to public health. And we run the jails nationwide. How many can guess how many inmates are in the jail system across America today? How many inmates do we see every year? About 11 million goes through our county jails. Guess how many are in state and federal prisons? Somebody give me just a number, guess.
Million?
About 2 to 3 million go through state prisons and jails, or prisons and federal and state prisons. So as you can see, county governments are holding the majority of those inmates, and over 50% of them have some type of serious mental illness. That's one of the things that National Association of Counties and nationwide we've been working on with the Stepping Up initiative to reduce mental illness in our jail system. Because it's more expensive to house them, and it costs us more money, in addition to the fact that that's not the right place for folks that may need some different type of treatment. So those are some of the things we work on at the national level, is elevating the image and understanding for our congressional delegation and for our delegation at the state level, because everything that happens at the federal level up here trickles down to the state and then trickles down to us. Different from city and municipal government, we can't tell the federal government to take a hike. We can, but it doesn't do us much good. We all would like to tell the federal government to take a hike. But essentially what happens is it flows down. And county government is really up here. It's down here, but your feds are up here, your state's here, and then your county government is here. And what happens is the laws that are made up here, or the rules, then flow down to the state, and the state makes more, and then they flow down to the county, and guess who has to implement it? It's us. And guess what? It doesn't always come with money. And that's what we call unfunded mandates. Stormwater regulations, you may have just read recently, the city is being imposed with some enforcement by the Department of Justice for stormwater issues. They have to deal with some of that too, but we are more impacted because we're an arm of the state and federal government. So for counties, we implement a lot of things locally. Here in Colorado, we're the human services provider at the local level. So social services, child protection, adult protection, food stamps, eligibility, all of that Medicaid falls to the county government. We get paid a portion of that for child welfare to keep kids safe. We have to pay up to 25% of local dollars in order to get our state and federal dollars to roll down to the local level. So you're still paying for those services locally. We have a county of 685,000 roughly. The city makes about 450,000 of that. We have 1,900 square miles that's unincorporated, which means the county commissioners, and Stan will get to know this too, make decisions on land use outside the city limits of any municipality. How many municipalities do we have in El Paso County? Anybody know? 8. We have Fountain on the south, Palmer Lake and Monument on the north, Green Mountain Falls and Manitou on the west, and then we have Rama and Calhoun on the eastern plains. You may think Falcon is incorporated. It is not. The town of Ellicott is not a town. Whitefield and Security are unincorporated. So, and the city of Colorado Springs, of course, is the big dog in the community. But the county, the inmates that are in our jail are primarily city residents. And so the county provides a backup system to the city of Colorado Springs. So when things affect the county or the city, there is a benefit to city residents. If child protection cases that happen in the county, are generally in the city limits and in certain areas. Dan May, the district attorney, and I started a group called the Not One More Child effort. We saw 10 child fatalities in roughly the 2010-2011 timeframe. And we knew that we had to do something. And so we stepped forward and started an initiative to try and recognize child abuse before it happened. These in particular, half of them were military related. So we developed a partnership with Fort Carson. And as a result, this last year we saw one. This year we may see a few more. But we've been successful at least in reducing child abuse. And sometimes there's nothing you can do. People are unpredictable. I just saw this morning that gentleman who left his, I wouldn't call him a gentleman, that father who left his child in the car for 22 hours who died has been now basically accused of killing his child. So we do what we can within county government, and social services, or human services as we call it, is managed at the local level but supervised by the state. But the best thing about local government is that we can partner with nonprofits and we know our communities best. The things that I have felt that have been important to work on have included transportation, and let's talk about a little of the things, some of the things that El Paso County government has really been engaged in. And including Cimarron and I-25, we participate in the Pikes-Peak Area Council of Governments, which is essentially a council of governments. It's called the Metropolitan Planning Organization, or MPO, and that's how a lot of the major projects get prioritized for state and federal projects. In particular, Cimarron has to be moved up on our local list in order to get funding from the state. And I will compliment CDOT in that they've done an amazing job trying to keep that interchange open while they're doing the improvements of an over $100 million project. Not a small project, but it should be complete by the end of 2017. We started talking about this when I became a commissioner in 2012. I mean, not in 2012, in 2005. And then basically it didn't really start to move forward until the 2013 time frame. So the other things that we work on are disaster management. In terms of disasters, as you know, we had 2 major wildfires, not to be outdone with the worst fire in Colorado history, the Waldo Canyon in 2012. We had the Black Forest Fire in 2013. The response to the particular incidents was small in comparison to the roughly $60 million we've spent on recovery from just the Waldo Canyon fire. And it goes on and on. And I know that Commissioner-elect Vanderwerf has been to some of the meetings where we sit down and we talk about the collaboration of prioritizing projects. In fact, the last few weeks, the county had actually an underspending of some of our dollars that had come for our disaster management, and we were able to pass those dollars on to Colorado Springs Utilities and Manitou Springs to use the balance because they had already prioritized and had the projects ready to go, or what we call shovel ready. In El Paso County, we have about 250 bridges. Some of those are not up to what we would consider standard in terms of maintenance, but it is all about the money. And so it's important to note that with our roughly $300 million budget, we have to do a lot of different things. We have to manage human services, we fund public health, we fund the sheriff's office, we fund the district attorney's office, we fund the coroner's office, the clerk and recorder, the treasurer, the assessor. They all don't work for the commissioners. We approve the budget, but we have to have a good relationship with those elected officials to decide who gets what. Sheriff was very successful, and the county commissioners have to refer ballot initiatives. There is no petitioning of county government. You can petition us, but basically we still make the decision. So unlike city municipal government where you can run ballot initiatives and citizen initiated, the county commissioners are the ones that have to decide whether something goes on the ballot or not. That is statewide. And so when you want to run a ballot initiative, it has to come before our board. And I will tell you, it's not easy to make that decision, even to refer ballot initiatives. However, we have been very successful. PPRTA was a result of the county commissioners at the time, before my time, or we call it BMT. The county commissioners put it, we can always blame who did it before. Stan will say, oh, it was the commissioners before me that did that. Eventually things will come back. But I give the credit certainly to the county commissioners who had the wherewithal and the foresight to say it's important enough for us to put the Pikes Peak Rural Transportation on the ballot, and it had to be a county initiative. The city was a partner, but it was the county commissioners who made the decision to refer that ballot initiative. Unfortunately, not every community opted in. Some have come in later. The little town of Rama, which is 125 people out on the western or eastern plains, they opted in later. The unfortunate part of theirs is that they couldn't be included in the maintenance component. They could get projects included, but not maintenance. Now, when it rolls around again, they might be able to change that on their ballot, but they had to put it on their ballot in order to opt in. For them, it's a lot of money when you consider there's 125 people and a pretty low tax base out there. Even several $1,000s to them is very large to them. The county also manages the Community Development Block Grant Program. We have a board called the CDAB, it's the Community Development Advisory Board, that basically oversees community development block grant dollars. We get about $1 million a year as an approved county because we're so large. And among all the opt-in and all the small communities are part of it, they each have a representative and they prioritize projects. And for instance, we were able to fund Rama and their water tower through CDBG. Those are some of the really important local projects. They wouldn't have had a water source in Rama had it not been for those CDBG dollars to help them. And they got some road improvement through the Community Development Block Grant Program also. So as you can see, everything from elections and records to vital statistics at the health department. By the way, I have to do the plug. We are approving here soon the Great American Smokeout proclamation to encourage folks to not smoke and to go into cessation if they can, and offering some services to help with that, and get your flu shots. That's my plug for public health. I serve on the board of public health as well. The other thing that's important to note is the Centennial Hall and the Citizen Service Center as of January 1st will become smoke-free campuses. That is a pilot program. There will be a report that will come later in the year when Commissioner-elect Vanderwerf is on the board. But we felt that this was important for us, especially because of the cost of medical care for our employees, which all costs you money too. So I'm going to kind of stop there and take some Q&A, and then we can kind of talk about things.
And I'm going to just take a moment of privilege and introduce another commissioner-elect.
Oh, hi.
Gonzalez.
He knows. Welcome.
Fucking late, son.
From District 4.
And then we also have, let's see, where did you go? There we go. Dana Cisneros has joined our board.
Oh,
And she's joined us this morning, and Stuart Coppage has joined our advisory committee just recently, and he's with us this morning.
Stuart and I have worked on some fire stations.
We started at the same time, didn't we?
Yeah. I was more of a troublemaker now.
And for those who haven't been here before, we have two restrooms in the building. One right there, Longinus is pointing to it, and another one that's the second door on the left through that door, second door on the left. So, sorry, go please.
That's okay.
Questions and
There's so many people that, yes.
Yeah. If I could, for everybody here, I would like to thank Commissioner Clark for the service to the community that she has done. And it's not just been as a commissioner, but in many public capacities prior to that. And I would ask you all to maybe give her a round of applause and then maybe meet with her afterwards towards the end of the meeting and thank her for the work that she's done. And I look forward to hoping that I can fill your shoes since...
I don't know, do we wear the same
I
size?
probably not. I probably
Mine
can't
are
put these
much
in your
fancier.
shoes. So, but I think it's appropriate to take the opportunity to thank Commissioner Clark for the great work that she's done.
So, questions? Everybody else?
Oh, and please ask questions.
Yeah.
Could you describe your relationship between the county and the city on land use, development, and urban density? Is it just deferred to the city, so annexation is the primary tool, or do you actually engage in some urban development?
Well, I guess it depends on your definition of urban. As the county grows, we are getting more areas that are more compact. We do interface when property is adjacent to, or there are connecting roads that go from one place to another. We want to make sure that we look at transportation from a wider perspective, not just saying, well, you know, the road goes here, and I don't know if you've all, I didn't bring you pictures, but there's a picture that I've seen where the road goes here, and then the road goes here, and nothing connects in the middle. And that, I think, is important for us to do planning together. We both use the Regional Building Development Center, and Regional Building does do permitting for both of us, which does help. Our new Director of Development Services, we don't call it Planning Department, we call it Development Services, Craig Dossey, is working on some upgrades to the information technology piece of putting permits, and not only permitting, but plans, and getting things so they can upload them online and really streamline that process. So the commissioners are always looking at ways to increase our ability to communicate. But if it's in the unincorporated areas, we do make decisions. We've got 2 major land use issues on our calendar today. So we may end up having dinner at the county tonight. We don't really cross over now. Counties do not have really any authority in annexation. So a city can come in and say, we're going to annex this. We can comment on it, but we really don't have any authority to say you cannot annex. From our perspective, it doesn't really affect our taxes, because the city basically will get new property tax, and we will still get our property tax. Our property taxes are really low here. We're the lowest in the top 10 counties in the state per capita. So you get a really good deal. But for us, we don't have much of a say. We can talk about things that we would like to see in the plans, in the annexation plans. And one example is the West Colorado Avenue, West Side Avenue Action Plan, otherwise known as No Man's Land, that we're working on. That I've worked, you know, and I think this speaks to kind of longevity sometimes and perseverance, because when I took office, before I took office in 2005, Mayor Marcy Morrison from Manitou, and I talked about the West Colorado Avenue project, and we tried for many years to get it on the improvement list, and we finally got it into the PPRTA extension for transportation. And we've been in talks with the city annexing certain components of it. The difficult part, and I think that Commissioner-elect Vanderwerf will find this out, and probably Commissioner-elect Gonzalez will figure this out, that sometimes you inherit problems where you've got multi-jurisdictions that cross over, or you've got unincorporated area within or close to a city, and you've got to maneuver and talk and really work collaboratively. So with Manitou and City of Colorado Springs and El Paso County, we've got kind of a mishmash of jurisdictions. So part of it's in unincorporated, part of it's in the city limits, and part of it's in Manitou. In fact, Garden of the Gods RV Park is half in the City of Colorado Springs and half in Manitou. And it's kind of one property. So Manitou collects part of this sales tax, and the city collects the other portion. I don't even want to begin to think of what that looks like from a perspective of collection. But we don't have any control over annexation.
Is there a unified development plan between you and municipalities?
We have our major corridors transportation plan, which kind of overlays. We don't always, we do talk to each other about our strategic plans and how they intermesh. And PPACG, really the Council of Governments, is the one that really lays out the overall Council of Government plans. That includes Park and Teller counties as well, and all the municipalities. I don't know that we have really one development plan, because we are different. We have different zoning requirements. In fact, El Paso County wasn't even zoned until a number of years ago when, I've heard the stories about pretty irate people when El Paso County was zoned and they had to bring in the commissioners with armed guards because they were worried. No, I'm not joking. It was a very tumultuous time. My predecessor, Chuck Brown, was on the board at that time, and it was not an easy time for the commissioners to zone El Paso County. But we don't have, I would say, one comprehensive plan. We're very different, and so we understand the differences, but we do try and partner where we can. Other questions? Yes.
You haven't mentioned anything about homelessness. If we have 8 municipalities, okay, what portion of the funds will come and help Colorado Springs with its homeless problem?
Well, I think it's important to note, and I've always, it's at a national level, the President Obama had called all the mayors together and they were going to run a homelessness initiative, and I know cities were going to solve homelessness, but the ironic thing about it to me is that counties are the ones that provide the social services network. Cities do get some dollars from community development block grant, and they get home dollars for affordable housing, and they have a housing authority. We have a separate housing authority, but we provide really the food stamps, the Medicaid eligibility, all of the sort of the safety net for folks that don't have the ability to make it on their own, at least, or need temporary assistance for needy families. So we have an integrated component of it, and I think it's important for us as we go forward with the homeless discussion, that there are homeless folks everywhere, and there's a lot that are just on that edge, and that's, I think, where county government needs to be engaged. But sometimes I think that we do get very territorial, and so there's a, I remember a story, how many of you remember the acquisition at Big Johnson Reservoir in Bluestone, which became Bluestone because it was named Big Johnson Reservoir, and the city acquired it. It was outside the city limits. The city acquired it with TOPS dollars and the Trails and Open Space dollars. And somebody said, well, why didn't we get the reservoir with it? Well, they forgot to talk to the ditch company that owned the reservoir. And I remember former Mayor Bob Isaac at the time, who was very outspoken, if you knew him, and he said, well, did anybody call the damn ditch company? My sense with that is that we have to talk to the other side, and we have to look more broad, and I think that's what county government does better than anyone, because we have 7 municipalities that need our assistance on many different things, that we have the ability to reach out and help, and that's just our nature. And even though folks don't necessarily understand what we do, we are the overarching government. And I know sometimes there's a struggle between city and county, but you have to realize that sometimes as county commissioners, sometimes we have to stand up and go, hello, by the way, we do that. That's not the city. We house city residents in our jail. Not the best place to be, but I have toured the jail many times, never officially as an inmate, just to let you know. But I will say that I think that's important to know that we're kind of the umbrella. And nationwide, the interesting thing is no wonder we're confusing, because we call ourselves something different in almost every state. If you're in California, you might be a board of supervisor, or Arizona, you're on the board of supervisors. If you're in Louisiana, first of all, a county is called a parish. And secondly, you could be a police juror or a commissioner. If you go to Alaska, you'd be a council member and you'd be in a borough, which is the same as a county. There's 2 states that do not have county government. Anybody know which ones those are? That's correct. And Connecticut. They have counties, but they don't have county government. The state took that away from them a number of years ago, and their state of Massachusetts is working on that now. But we think we provide an important safety measure. I will say that in terms of the homelessness issue, we are engaged. Chris Garvin from our Department of Human Services is on a committee. The county runs the detox center, which is partially funded by the hospitals. There is always a struggle to make the hospitals understand that they receive a benefit from it, because otherwise, where do all those people go who are in detox? They're in the emergency rooms. So it's important for us to increase our understanding, but also just be engaged in the homeless discussion. I don't know that I have the answer to homelessness. I don't think we're ever going to eliminate it. My concern too is that we have a problem with panhandlers, which aren't necessarily homeless people, and it gives them sometimes it detracts from actually helping those who really need the help. Yes, sir.
How many regional parks is the county
Oh, that's a good
responsible
question.
for?
I don't
And then
know.
what's the health of those parks as far as maintenance?
You know, I think we're doing a great job. Different from a city, we're not into pocket parks. So you will find that our parks are more regional. Obviously, Bear Creek Regional Park is right in the middle of the city. But, Fox Run, I don't know if you've ever been out to Paint Mines Park, which is right across from the county fairgrounds out in Calhoun. It is absolutely beautiful. It is one of the most unusual sandstone formations. And it's called Paint Mines because that's where the Native Americans took the sand to make paint. And we are very fortunate. Most of our dollars, though, come from Great Outdoors Colorado. We've gotten millions of dollars over the years. Thank you for buying lottery tickets. I don't buy them, but my husband does, so I figure it's community property, just in case. And we were able to just get a grant recently on the Ute Pass Trail as the Governor Hickenlooper 16 for 16 trail system to provide another $680,000 to finish construction of a trail that will eventually connect into the American Discovery Trail, which will go all the way to Cripple Creek and up through, hopefully, across the nation. So I think we're doing a good job. The voters were great about a Tabor refund that we did put on the ballot. And I know our future commissioners are going to have to make those decisions too when we have a Tabor refund situation coming. Do you ask the voters to keep it for specific projects, or do you refund it? And I think we did the calculations for the last time we did the Parks Initiative, which was 1A. We figured that it would amount to about $5 per person if we refunded it, and the voters chose to give it back to the park system. So I think there's a value to that. And unfortunately, sometimes with those kinds of refunds, with like Tabor refund projects, they have to be project specific because you can't use them for ongoing needs.
Roughly how many staff are devoted towards the parks?
Oh gosh, I don't know that number. That's a good question. I can get it for you though.
No, that's fine.
I bet I know somebody who can. Other questions? Yes,
A lot of
Stuart.
people probably don't think of the county as one of the biggest downtown landowners, but with
Yes.
the whole Centennial Hall complex and
Absolutely.
everything, and then, so could you talk a little bit about your vision or your thoughts or on as the area gets redeveloped, the Southwest downtown gets redeveloped, and the Olympic Museum and all of that, and how that connects into the county property and maybe some opportunities that are there for the county to kind of step up and be a great neighbor, and also the responsibility of the city and the rest of the property owners, how all that could work together.
Well, I think we're really aware of what's going on. I'm not thinking that we're gonna up and move out of town because the Olympic Museum is gonna be here. Our parking garage is right there. It's a perfect location to hopefully make some revenue and put it back into county government. We do know that eventually we'll have to expand the courthouse again. And that is something that we're looking at the Metro Jail, which is in kind of next to the Alamo building, which is kind of next door. We have the old Metro Jail, and it's been housing offices and some things, but it really needs to be probably raised, and we need to do something with that. And we know that the courts will need to expand. Another thing I wanted to mention that we're responsible for as county governments is courthouses. We do not fund the judges. We do not fund their salaries, but we provide all the security and we provide the building and the facility. And so the county is required to provide that facility. So when the state is nice enough to give us more judges and pay for the judges, guess what we have to provide? More courtroom space. And that has been a constant kind of rub with county government, that we don't get anything for that. We also fund completely the DA's office, and then Teller has a small portion of it because our district attorney is in a judicial district that takes in Teller County. But we know that as part of the whole downtown project, the county does need to be engaged and involved. I think sometimes, and I'm just going to be honest here, that contacting the ditch company is an afterthought, that they don't think sometimes about engaging county commissioners on those decisions, and there's a lot of focus on the city. The city has a lot more tools in their toolbox regarding economic development. The things that we manage are enterprise zone project, which is projects that are in areas that need more assistance, and you can get tax credits when you donate to those particular enterprise zone projects, and there's job incentives and a number of other things. We do, in fact, we're the only county in the state of Colorado that doesn't charge a business personal property tax out of 64 counties. And that is a savings of about $6 to $7 million a year that's passed on to businesses because we never collected in the first place. That doesn't mean that other municipalities, school districts, fire districts, also do still collect it. Our treasurer has to collect the taxes. They go in the door and out the door. So we don't get to keep any of that. But that is an important component of it. We were fortunate to have Centennial Hall renovated a few years ago. We used to be where the sheriff's office is over here now. That was our building. And then we were able to work a deal with Intel and move our offices and co-locate in our one-stop shop out on Garment Gods Road. That we feel was really beneficial from a collaborative effort where you can go to the Pikes Peak Workforce Center. If you need any kind of assistance, you can run right upstairs to Department of Human Services and get some TANF dollars if you're eligible. You can go to the health department. Those kinds of things are all in the SBDC, the Small Business Development Centers, right there, as well as PTAC, which is the Procurement Technical Assistance. It is for those that want to do government contracting, that offers assistance to small business who may want to get into government contracting types of operations, and help them with understanding the procurement maze of the federal government. Other questions?
Sallie, I have one. If you were going to be in office another year or four, what would your priorities be?
Gosh, I'm a project-oriented person, and I start projects before I finish others. So because I guess I'm just kind of on that role that people come to me and ask for assistance on various things. The things that are important specifically to me on my district are the West Colorado, and I know that Stan and I have had this discussion, West Colorado no man's land redevelopment along that corridor. In addition to working on I-25, which isn't really in the district, I-25 North, which the governor and I had this quick discussion yesterday, the cyber symposium about the gap and how much we need it, but of course funding is the big issue there. For me also, Rainbow Falls Recreation Area, up above Manitou, there's an area called Rainbow Falls, which has a bridge that was closed for a long time because of some of the flooding we had up in Manitou. CDOT just recently repaired that bridge, but graffiti and vandalism has become the norm, and we're trying to find a project, an art project actually, that will be a project that will help to create community ownership of it, stewardship, as well as deter the graffiti. It's not artistic. It wouldn't be a place that I would take my children to. The language and the graffiti is vandalism. It's all over the rocks. We would never tolerate that at Garden of the Gods or Red Rock Canyon, and somehow it's become tolerated. And there are websites and Facebook pages for come to Graffiti Falls and bring your spray can, and that is a culture we're going to have to change. That's going to be a long-term project, but we're hoping with CDOT's help, we were able to get some dollars to help with the revitalization of the under sort of story of the bridge, and that's the next project that will be coming. So I'll be calling Stan and making sure that I tell people I may have no elected official, but I'm not going anywhere. So
It'll still be a business.
just FYI. Yes.
I'm just curious what the street limits are of that no man's land. I've heard of it, but I don't know exactly what it is.
Primarily, the area that we're working on is from 31st Street to Manitou Springs. And Manitou Springs has their own component, and they have an urban renewal authority, of which I serve on the URA there. And they're going to put a portion of their urban renewal authority dollars into helping with that project. And then it's really PPRTA. So the Transportation Authority is funding the lion's share. Utilities has a component because Colorado Springs Utilities, we have to underground. That's part of the problem, is that in the west side is just like that. I have telephone poles in my backyard over there because it's just that everything's overhead. And so in order for safety improvements, the utilities have to be undergrounded. We want to put in curb and gutter and sidewalks, drainage improvements, trail improvements, mainly roadway improvements that allow right and left turns without having to stop up traffic. I know folks have been concerned about the 3-lane, because we've got a 3-lane plan to put in place, but we did go through an extensive public process on that, and the public that came to the meetings and was part of that was overwhelmingly that they wanted the 3 lanes. There's also a lot of existing businesses that need access, so we wanted to make sure we didn't cut them off from the ability for people to get to their properties. But it's a really from 31st into Manitou.
Why is it called no man's land?
Well, I think initially.
Their business is there and their streets are paved.
And I think that was, and Marcy Morrison takes the credit for it, and I'll give it to her, but she said, nobody wants to take care of this, and it's true. It was initially.
So it's not ownership situation?
Well, it is because it's essentially a component is unincorporated county. I mean, we still have people who are on septic systems over there. They're not on city. They're not on the city's wastewater and water system. Some of them are on wells too. So it's just an area that no one really wanted to claim, I guess. And since it was a nickname that was developed because we knew that it needed help, and we were trying to get the coalition bill. And longevity-wise, Dave was kind of alluding to, I've worked with Larry Small, Jerry Heimlicher, Lisa Salatko, Scott Hente. I'm trying to remember all the council members that have kind of come and go over the years. Those were all folks that wanted to be involved in it and have rotated out because they've left council, and I'm still here. And then Stan will step in after me, but it takes a long time to get these projects done. It doesn't happen overnight, and Cimarron and I-25 has been on the list for 20-some years to get funded, but it's all based on priorities. And we needed to get 4 lanes done north I-25 not the gap, but North I-25, from Academy to Monument first. And we did not Gate 19, we did Fort Carson. The entrance into Fort Carson at Academy was the next one, and then now we're back here. Fillmore had to be complete. Bijou got done with part of the Cosmics piece. And so it's all about trying to figure out how you're gonna shuffle your priorities and what's first and what's second and what's third and what's fourth.
I speak just briefly, also in concert with what Commissioner Clark said with regard to this term no man's land. I think the preference would be not to call it no man's land. It's not a good term for what that area really is. It's an area that needs revitalization. And if you live in the area, you'll be familiar. It's an area that has no curb, no gutter. It's a mishmash of different types of infrastructure, and the under-road infrastructure, the sewers and so forth, are really, really outdated. So the project that Commissioner Clark and others have been working on for years, it's come to fruition now, and that area is going to be redone, and it's going to look a lot better. It is a revitalization project, and that revitalization of the public infrastructure in that area should be very attractive for businesses to come in and perhaps buy up some of the older, worn-out facilities and rebuild. And hopefully we'll see kind of and there is a vision to it as well, a consistent kind of a tourism theme, but also a community theme that goes from Old Colorado City right into Manitou Springs. And if we can pull that off and do it right, it'll be awesome. It'll really be great.
But I mean, does this part belong to Colorado Springs?
It's all, as I
It's a
said,
mix of all three.
it's a mix of all three. And to complicate it initially, it was managed, it's the original